So what the whole research design thing is about choices. And I obviously brought in Louis Armstrong for the reason that I think that jazz is a fantastic metaphor for research, because there is a lot of improvisation, but there is also a lot of stuff that you know. Okay, so you need to practice a lot in order to be able to improvise well. So it is not an uneducated, arbitrary kind of process. It is a very, very heavily knowledgeable, educated process, which is just not possible to put into these well-structured recipes. So it is important that you have an idea which way you want to go and where you want to go when you start your research process. It is just simply not set in stone. So you will be making many choices, and sometimes it is about equally good directions. You just like one of them more than another. And it happens that you go into one direction, then you figure that you don't like so much that direction any longer, then you go back and pursue a different direction. So this is all happening quite naturally. So if you don't overthink it really, if you don't really want to have it planned, then it will be a very sensible, natural thing that can happen. What is really useful is to pay attention to things like harmony and coherence. So if you did something so far, next step that you do, if it sharply contradicts what you have done before, then you need to explain why that would make sense. It happens that this is the right choice, that you take a radically different direction at some point, but then you must have a good reason for that. Now, the whole chapter in your dissertation that is about the methodological approach or the methodological framing is basically telling the story of these choices. So what it is not about some so what I really dislike when I see when the dissertation reads like an exam paper. So don't tell me about the 57 methods that you are familiar with. Tell me how you made your choices, why you chose these ones, and then tell me how you have implemented those ones. This means that you will talk about some methods that you did not choose because you considered them, and then you did not choose them for a reason. You chose some other ones for a reason. Now, these choices are what I need to understand in order to understand the process that led to that solution in your problem-solving process where you ended up with. So this is the whole idea. Okay, so changing your mind is fine. Don't forget to explain. This also means that it is a very useful thing to keep a kind of research diary or whatever to call it. So basically that you can recount how you ended up going into the direction in which you went. It is even more important that when you explain your findings, that thing that you explain there, it will not even resemble the process of your study. Why? Because in your study, you will read something, then you will consider going some empirical ways, then you actually collect some data, then you go back and read something else, and then you analyze some data, then you go read something else. This is not how you write your dissertation. You will have in the, I don't know, somewhere early in your dissertation, you will have all the lit review, and you are not having additional lit review pieces. So this means that the dissertation is a report that does not do justice to the process, and it should not. What it should do is to provide a sensible way of getting to the solution, but this is not the way how you got to the solution. And the place where you can tell your story, how you, what your journey actually was, is your methodological frame. And if it was a kind of deep personal journey and such, then feel free to include a reflection section in your methodology chapter, and you explain that, oh, when you were doing this or that, it felt like this or that, and therefore you did this or that. So there is space for that, and especially, you know, the English language is, especially the academic one, allows you to do anything as long as you can explain. Okay, so nothing is kind of out of possibility. So okay, and obviously, as I said, you can improvise. So when you tell someone what you want to do, it may or may not be convincing. So I was not very good at that. So I was not good at selling stuff that do not exist. But for example, I applied for a research grant once, and I said that what I want to do is to interview 20 Nobel laureates. And then I got a reject for that grant. And the explanation was that, oh, you cannot possibly get access to 20 Nobel laureates. I said, don't reject my grant with that. Put the money on the table. If I cannot get access, I cannot spend the money. But don't tell me that you are not giving me the money because I could not anyway. So that's not fair. Then for a year later, I submitted another grant application saying that I did not get the grant previously. I did the interviews without the grant, without the money. Now I am asking for kind of to bring this project to end, to get some support with the analysis and such. They rejected it again. This time they said that it was an undeclared resubmission. I said, first of all, I told you that I did not get the money and that I did it without that. So I did not hide, certainly, that I had a previous submission. Second, the first submission was a 2-year project with £200,000. The second was a 1-year project with £100,000. So in many ways, it is the same research process. It is not the same application. So I did not ask for money to travel to do the interviews because I have already done the interviews. So anyway, that led to a great disappointment for me. But it is important that you figure out how you can talk of the stuff that you want to do. And if they call you a dreamer for that, or that people say that it is impossible, as long as you can run it by your supervisor and they say that you are okay, just trust them. Okay, don't listen to all those who tell you that it is not possible. So lots of things are possible. So there is a big whole thing about the whole ethical dimensions. You probably start introducing some sort of ethics approval stuff, but that is not really part of this lecture, although it is certainly part of the research design. I usually handle it very easily in terms of this. So what is important, if, for example, interview someone, then tell them on the recording, tell them what your research is about, and that it is up to them if they want to be interviewed, and that they can anytime tell you that they want to opt out, and that's okay. So if this is on record, then you cannot have any problems with that. If you use questionnaire, put a couple of sentences at the top that this is about this, and it will be anonymized or not, depending on what sort of research you are doing, and that it is up to them whether they want to submit it or not.